Hello and welcome to Mark's Woodworking Challenges. I'm Mark, your host, and that means I'm the guy who has lots of challenges when it comes to woodworking. I haven't made any videos for over a year because I've been splitting my time between two different shops. That will be a subject for another video. And so I've been very, very busy. Accordingly, what I'd like to do to sort of ease my way back into the video game is to serve up a few softballs at the beginning here to help me get back into the swing of things. So today I'm going to talk about a challenge that I think affects just about all of us who enjoy this hobby, and that is workshop storage and organization. Today's subject is going to be on French Cleat Tool Walls. Lots of videos out there on YouTube, so you got lots of material to work with. I'm basically just going to go over my impressions, my first impressions of using French Cleat Tool Walls, and then sort of show how I applied French Cleat Tool Walls in this particular shop. So let's get on with it. First of all, what is a French Cleat Tool Wall? Like I say, abundant material out there, but French Cleat Tool Wall is simple. You make a batten with a 45-degree angle cut in one side, and that is fastened to a permanent wall, just like that. Then you make a movable holder for your tools that plugs in like that, and it's no more complicated than that. French cleats have been around for a while. They're my favorite method for hanging heavy stuff on the walls in the house, and so a French Cleat Tool Wall is just a further development of a basic French cleat hanger. So what are the advantages of the French Cleat Tool Wall? First of all, it's just really convenient to rearrange stuff. As maybe it goes without saying, you can take that guy, move it up there, you can move it down there. It's so much easier to optimize and rearrange your tool wall than it would be if you were using pegboard. So that's one big advantage. Secondly, it's very, very strong. Your fixed battens should be screwed into studs, and you can see that I have done that. And so you've got a solid piece of wood screwed into studs. It'll hold a lot of weight. So you could put, I'm no engineer, so I can't calculate the load bearing capability here, but you could put at least tens of pounds in one holder, and it wouldn't even phase the tool wall. Thirdly, I guess I should say, they're fairly inexpensive. Just made out of regular lumber. Most people use 3/4 inch thick pieces of wood. It's nice for the parts that are fastened to the wall. It's nice if they can be semi-long pieces of wood, so that you can catch more than one stud on each board. But as you'll notice, I did not have a good piece of lumber that would go the entire 7-foot distance here. So I'd use two different pieces in one row, and it doesn't slow me down at all. And so, but yeah, you can't just automatically go to the scrap pile for these pieces. However, you can go to the scrap pile for the ones that you make the tool holders out of. Here are some that I've made from scraps, and so it's a great way to use scrap wood. Pretty easy to install, as I've already addressed. You just need to make your bevel cut. If you've got a table saw, that's easy as pie. I usually round over this part here so that if I ever have to come into contact with it, maybe I'll brush against it when I'm moving them around. That way I don't have a razor sharp corner to draw blood. And so pretty easy to install. Lastly, for the advantages, you can basically make custom tool holders. Here's one that I made for all my glues. Some Q-tips there, water to put the glue brush in between applications. And so basically I sort of threw together a custom tool holder for that purpose. Here's one that I use for my Allen wrenches, I should say. I took my existing holder and just screwed a French cleat on the back, but still that would qualify as custom. And so instead of having to make do with some piece of hardware that is made for a pegboard and you can only use those commercially available pieces of hardware, you can make one for your own tools, and indeed you can make it as fancy or as simple as you like. Okay, what are the disadvantages of a French Cleat Tool Wall? Well, it was an advantage that you could use custom tool holders. It's a disadvantage, I guess, that you have to fabricate the custom tool holders. So, that may be not to some people's liking. I personally kind of like doing that. It's a good way to use scrap tools, scrap wood, I should say. You can see that I didn't have too much trouble throwing that thing together. And so if you like tinkering in your shop, you will be fine with fabricating custom tool holders. And don't be afraid to borrow from other technologies. So here, for example, I have taken a pegboard part and adapted it to be a French cleat tool holder. Likewise, the one that I just showed, this guy right here, started out life as a knife holder for steak knives, but is now become a Allen wrench French cleat tool holder. So don't be afraid to borrow what you need and to take some shortcuts like that, especially if you're not that wild about making custom tool holders in the first place. Another disadvantage is that sometimes you won't get perfectly efficient coverage of the wall. Some stuff will hang down and cover the batten below them so that you won't be able to use both battens equally. And so if you want to densely cover 100% of the wall space with tools that utilize your French cleat tool holder system, you probably won't be able to do that. There will be some cases you just won't be able to avoid covering up some of the battens. So, thirdly, one thing that I've observed is that heavy items are great. This guy right here, he's fairly heavy. And when I go to take something out of here, you know, that's not moving. But in some cases, when there's a real light thing, and this isn't maybe a really good example, but I can illustrate it. I go to lift something out, and the whole holder starts to come out. So when you have a tool holder that's holding very light things, it's susceptible to being displaced when you remove the tool from it. Now some guys solve this. There are videos online where they've made an add-on piece that sort of locks the French cleat in place. More power to them. I chose not to do that. If I have a case where it's coming loose too easily, what I do is just take some double-sided tape and put it behind there, and that really holds it to the wall fairly well. And the advantage there is that double-sided tape is not a permanent. It's sticky, but not necessarily permanent, so that if you want to move it later on, all you have to do is sort of yank it out of there and put another piece of double-sided tape on, and you're good to go in the new location. Now, while I'm on that subject a little bit, let me just address the subject of backer boards. In this particular case, I have 50-year-old paneling here, and so I chose not to use a backer board. The paneling here is just fine. In the other shop where I had wallboard that covered all the walls, I did take 1/4-inch plywood and put it behind the French Cleat Tool Wall so that I wouldn't, I mean, it's already bad enough that I have to put some holes in it, but at least the 1/4-inch plywood keeps the wall from being chewed up over time. One observation that I've made is, as I said before, you can take pegboard parts and adapt them to a French Cleat Tool Wall if you want. I started out, putting one of these up like that, and what I found is that if you're trying to do that sort of an arrangement, you got so much leverage out at the end of this thing that it tends to lever the French cleat out of the holder. So, having long pieces like that is probably going to be problematic for your French Cleat Tool Wall. And lastly, it may go without saying, but you have to have available wall space. This could be a disadvantage for some people. It's kind of a little bit of a disadvantage for me here. If you don't have available wall space, obviously you can't have a French Cleat Tool Wall, because a wall is a necessary ingredient. Okay, let's take a moment and I'll just quickly show you how I've installed the French Cleat Tool Wall and how I've put it into my workflow here in the shop. As I just alluded to, I don't have very much wall space in this shop. This is one French Cleat Tool Wall. It replaces a pegboard that used to be there. I did not like that pegboard. This whole section of wall here is covered by cabinets. And I will say that as much as I like a French Cleat Tool Wall, I am not going to take out my cabinets to put in a French cleat tool wall. That would definitely be a step in the wrong direction. And lastly, I've got a little bit of wall space over here, and I've mounted a small French cleat tool wall on that section there. And so that's pretty much it. What I've done here is adopt the point of view that I will store things on the French cleat tool wall and bring them to the bench. And so there's two ideas behind that. One is, you can see that a lot of stuff up here is built so that I can take it down, and it's flat bottom so that I can just set it on the bench. And then when I'm done, I put it back up on the French cleat tool wall. The second idea that I think will help this situation is, on my bench I've installed French cleats at both ends. So what I'm able to do with that is lift something off of the French cleat tool wall put it here right where it needs to be, next to the work area, and then when I'm done I put it back on the French cleat tool wall. I've tried to make it easy to stay organized, but also easy to bring stuff to the work area when I need them. Okay, the verdict is in. The French cleat tool wall is installed, and in my opinion, it's a positive development for storage and organization in this shop. It certainly beats the heck out of the old pegboard system that I used to have. And if you're considering putting in a French cleat tool wall, I can certainly recommend it. I think you'll appreciate it. That'll do it for this video. Please consider subscribing, resubscribing, and by all means leave comments. And so without further ado, we'll see you next time on Mark's Woodworking Challenges.